Warning, listening to this podcast could result in spending or saving large amounts of money. Listener discretion advised.
Strap in for a wildly unqualified adventure with two overly opinionated collectors, armed with good intentions and questionable expertise, as they stumble through a galaxy of toys and collectibles, pretending to know it all, where every figure has a story and every opinion is a showdown. Welcome to Across the Toyverse.
Hi everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Across the Toyverse. My goodness, this has been a long gestating project that I have been wanting to do with my good friend Scott Peavy, and he's here with me. Hey Scott, how's it going, buddy?
Going good, man. Happy to be finally getting this kicked off. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and here we are, and so I'm ready to get going.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This is something that we've talked about doing for a long time, just kind of like sitting down and like having sort of like a long form conversation about things that we love. We do this already day in and day out. So we just figured, why not share our thoughts with the masses? People may probably know me from the various shows that I'm on. So from my reviews on right here on YouTube on Saturday Morning Toy Collector, you probably know me from Double Jointed or The Tribe, the AWOC show that we do. But this is a brand new thing. This is something new that we wanted to try out, an audio only podcast for people who love to like listen to toy talk throughout their day or throughout their daily commute or their drive. But Scott is a really good friend of mine here locally in town. He's one of my local friends. So I have a local group of collectors, and then I have sort of like this nationwide group of collectors from all over. But Scott, for those who don't know you, why don't you give us just a little bit about yourself, man?
All right, I'll try to be brief. I'm mid-40s, dad, toy collector, stand-up comedian, artist, cosplayer. I grew up in the 80s. I have a lot of nostalgia for the 80s. That's the purpose of nostalgia, is for us to keep it as we grow up, and so it has worked on me. Yeah, I do stand-up comedy. I'm kind of stepping back from that a little bit to just sort of reorganize things, and part of that was getting to do this this podcast with you, and getting to talk about something I spend a whole lot of time talking about anyways. So we were talking about it. We figured, why not share it with the world? These discussions are too important to be kept to ourselves, Mark. We need to share these with the masses.
Absolutely. We are very over opinionated guys. Exactly. Like it says in the intro. Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want to know more about Scott, we recently sat down and I did a Meet the Collector with Scott, which you can find in the Meet the Collector tab here on YouTube. Go give it a watch. It's certainly a really good conversation. You get to actually see Scott's face. And you get to see all the toys that makes Scott tick. We talk about everything that we typically talk about on Meet the Collector. So that was one of the reasons for us doing it. I think I probably knew most of the answers to all of those questions, that we sat and talked about. But that was really more for when we sat down to do this podcast, it was so that we could reference it. We could send people there. If you want to know more about Scott, pause it right here, go watch the video, and then come back or watch it later. Whatever. It's a really good interview.
You can watch it. You can pause it and watch it now, and then go watch it later too.
Yeah, watch it twice. Absolutely. There's a moment where you show something off in that interview that I had not seen since my childhood, and I was really aghast. I was really taken back by it, and that was a fun moment. So definitely go back and check it out. We do want to talk a little bit about what this show is, Across the Toyverse, and kind of what we hope to accomplish here each week or bi-weekly. You know, the funny thing is we still haven't even figured this out yet. Like, what are we doing? Are we doing it every week? Are we going to do it every 2 weeks? We're going to sort that out, and we'll definitely communicate everything to you guys, both via the post tab here on YouTube, which is where this video is going to be, or what this podcast is going to be housed. You'll be able to find it in the tabbed across the top section. There's a little section called playlists, under playlist, podcast, and that's where you'll be able to find it. But a little bit about the show. We are some toy travelers traveling the universe, the multiverse of toys across the Toyverse, and a little bit about the show. So every week, or every 2 weeks, whenever we decide to do it, we're going to be doing a little pickups. We'll show off at least, we'll at least talk about at least one thing that we got that week. Then we want to do a deep dive into a topic. This week, it's going to be all Spider-Man figures, and we're going to talk about why that is in just a moment. We're also going to talk about something that we really love that happened that past week in toy news or in toys in general, and then something that's just sticking in our craw that we really want to complain about, because we do a lot of that behind the scenes. We do a lot of complaining about stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, in all of that happening, we're either going to save you guys a lot of money, or we're going to enable you to spend money that you otherwise probably shouldn't have spent on stuff, just like the warning says on the show. But that's kind of a little bit about it. Do you want to share any other thoughts, like other thoughts on what you hope the show is and what you want to hope to deliver every week?
Yeah, I really hope to kind of get more conversations going around toy collecting and, you know, adult collecting and stuff. And also, I'm always interested in third-party stuff and knockoff stuff and things like that. So I hope to learn about that kind of stuff and be able to help share that to people who otherwise, you know, wouldn't know what to get, because I do some amount of customizing and some amount of buying third-party stuff, and so I can give reviews on that. So if that's something you think you might be interested in and you're listening to this podcast, then check back, man. We'll be talking about everything across the Toyverse.
Yeah, absolutely. And stuff that we may not even know about, please share. Now, one of the, you know, the challenges of doing an audio only podcast is that we don't have the visuals. We don't have the ability to like say, hey, check this out and look at this thing that we're talking about, like we do on like a live show or whatever, like a live stream or a video. So we knew early on that that we're going to have like a visual component to this, and we wanted to make that fun as well. So there is an Instagram account that you can go to. It's called across_the_Toyverse. And I will put a link to it in the description of this video when it goes up on YouTube. And there's going to be a visual component that goes along with it. So anything that Scott and I talk about, you can go there and you can watch, or you can view those images on YouTube. Also, Scott is a really good video, like TikToker, like pose video. Like he tells really good stories with his pose videos. They're oftentimes funny. They're like funny little scenarios, or pairing up two characters together that I never would have thought to put together. You know, in some weird kind of fantastical way. But yeah, we want to share videos that we make. We want to share images. And then we wanted to do something cool, because Scott is really into posing his figures. I'm also really into posing figures. I'm not nearly as good as Scott is, but we're both really into the Jada Street Fighter toys right now. And so we thought what would be kind of fun is maybe if each week, throughout the week, we would do a little battle across the Toyverse, right? We would do a little battle across Instagram. So we were thinking that, you know, maybe Scott could pose like a character, like a Jada Street Fighter character, or you know, whatever. And he's posing a character in a way that's sort of like attacking me, and then I will pose like my defensive like image, you know, back on Instagram, and then he would kind of like do another pose, and then I would do another pose, and we'll kind of do that throughout the week. And then we'll check back in at the end of the week, and we'll see which pose got more likes, and we'll declare a winner. And then maybe the next week we'll pick two new characters and keep going, so on and so forth. So we want to have a little fun with what we're doing on Instagram, and not just have it just be like a repository for images or whatever. So that's kind of a rundown of me and Scott and what we want the show to be. And what we wanted the Instagram component to be. And so, yeah, we're just going to dive into it. We're going to go into our weekly pickups right now. So do you have something that you picked up this week that you just want to talk about? It doesn't have to be like an extensive list. Like, man, Greg and I had 3 whole weeks of pickups that we went through on Saturday's show yesterday. And man, it almost took like 40 minutes to get through all of our pickups. But you have something this week that's like super exciting that come across your desk?
Yeah, I guess the one I want to talk about is, I picked up the new SH Figure Art Dragon Ball Daima Kid Goku, and you were there. You were part of that, and I love the articulation of these new Kid Goku and Vegeta figures. I want to get the Piccolo as well. They have great articulations for such a small figure. The expressions, there's just the face, the way they're able to capture the look of that specific series, not just like a general Goku look, but it looks like Dragon Ball Daima. Like SHF has really stepped up in some ways that people are very happy about, and are kind of dragging their feet on in other ways. So it's nice when something comes out that you feel like just sort of hits that mark. And I think the new Daima figures, the adult ones and the kid ones, are hitting that for me. So I like the new Daima Kid Goku figure a lot.
Would you say they're dragon balling their feet?
Dragon balling they're dragging their feet.
They're dragging their ball feet. Dragging that. No, yeah, I did get a chance to see you pick that up and find it on the store shelf, and get to see that excitement that comes through when you find something that you're looking for, and then pick it up. And then we went and ate dinner afterwards, and you had it at the table, and you were like playing with it. And I got a chance to check it out as well. Now I don't know the first thing about Dragon Ball at all. My kids were into it for a while. It's not something I ever got into as a kid or a young adult or anything. I used to work in a movie store called Suncoast Movie Store, and Suncoast Movies, I think is what it was called. But we would play it all the time in the store because people loved it. And I just remember there was a lot of screaming. That's basically what I remember from it. But I do have a one Goku figure that I bought in a downtime of collecting from Target, just like right off the shelf, and I loved it. It's a lot of fun. But the one you showed me, the new Goku Daima figure, looks incredible. The adult one. And I've subsequently pre-ordered it for absolutely no reason whatsoever, just because you have enabled me. You do that quite often. You did that with my pickup this week, quite expensively, I might add, because this was not a cheap figure.
Yeah.
But I picked up the MAFEX Superboy from the Return of the Superman line, and I've like famously said that I think I should have my nerd card revoked because I've never read The Death of Superman, and I've never read The Return of the Superman ever. This was when this happened.
It's not like you could just walk into any comic book shop and pick up every single copy for $1 for the past
I know, right?
several decades.
Yeah, absolutely. Even recently, when we were on that toy trip recently to pick up stuff, I actually picked up one of the volumes because there's 5 volumes to that whole entire story, and I had 2. I think I had 1 and 5, and I think I had 1 and 4, and I picked up 5 when I was on the trip with you. So now I just need volumes 2 and 3. So I have 1, and I'm going to start it. And I'll tell you why I never read this as a kid. When it came out, I was not into Superman, like not at all. Like I was Batman through and through. And I think specifically when that storyline came out, I was Batman, Punisher, and X-Men. And if it wasn't one of those 3, like I did not care because I was laser focused on those 3 comics at that period of time. And so, but what I do love about this figure is I love the bright colors. I think he looks incredible. The design is actually, the design of this character went from, so like the tight, spandex bodysuit and the leather jacket and the the blousey kind of gloves and the sunglasses. This was a design that never spoke to me, but it has grown on me very quickly. And this figure, nowhere on the box does it talk about how much swagger this figure comes with, but it is the most swagalicious figure I've ever seen. I think my kids would cringe if they heard me say that, but this guy, he just, what is the new term? Riz? Like he oozes Riz, this guy.
He drips with Riz, I think is what the kids say.
His fit's dripping with Riz, which also I think my kids would cringe. But yeah, you slung it on me, as my dad would say. You slung it on me. But yeah, you were showing this figure off, and I was like, dude, I have never wanted that guy until now. And boy, yeah. And I jumped on it because I'm like, this thing's going to be hard to find, like probably this time next year, and he's probably going to be $200 or $300, and there's no way I would ever pay that. So I went ahead and bought it now. And I have no other ones. I don't have Eradicator. I don't have Steel or John Henry Irons. If that is that his name, the metal one.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, I did pre-order the black and silver Return of Superman in that black suit from BBTS. I did pre-order that one, so I'm like, okay, I'll have those two. I think those are my two favorite designs out of all. So I'll have the two that I really want. And that John Henry Irons Superman is like $80 or $85 on BBTS right now. It's on clearance. So I don't know. But yeah, that's my pickups for the week. So yeah, we're going to take a little break right here, a little pause, and we're going to come back with our deep dive and why we chose Spider-Man. Articulated Empire is your newest online retailer for shopping for your favorite figures and toy lines like Mythic Legions, Savage Crucible, and Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, to name a few. They ship your orders quickly and securely. Visit articulatedempire.com today and build your empire. All right, so why are we talking about Spider-Man action figures this week? Scott, you want to take that?
Yeah, man, there's been a lot of Spider-Man figures coming out all of a sudden. And they are kind of all over the place in terms of like value, articulation, price versus value. And there's just been so many that have come out that we've been talking about. It just seems like it's almost like every week somebody has a new Spider-Man figure and we're comparing it to all the others. And I was just like, man, we need to get like the kind of the top recent releases, because a couple of them have been controversial in the toy sphere. People just love it but don't like the price, or are fine with the price and hate it, or there's been so much about a couple of these in particular that was how we wanted to start. We figured Spider-Man is kind of universally loved and known, and who better to start with regard to toys than a character who has probably, in my opinion, shaped how action figures are made in a lot of ways. When you think about just how much articulation he has to have, they're not going to just limit that just to Spider-Man. It's going to start creeping into other character figures, So I just figured, this is the place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you and I just both universally have a love for Spider-Man, and we both really enjoy getting a new Spider-Man figure in hand. I know that for me personally, there's few things better than walking into Target and seeing a new Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure that I don't have, picking that up and knowing that I'm going to easily get my $25 worth out of this. Like, hopefully it's a good enough one that I'm going to get my $25 out of it. And, just knowing that, man, I'm going to sit down this afternoon or this evening or even maybe tomorrow, and I'm going to pose the crap out of this guy, and I'm going to put him through the paces and see what he can do. And you're right. I think Spider-Man, in a way, shapes a lot of the action figure articulation landscape, because people are always trying to see like how much more, like companies are trying to see how they can achieve those Spider-Man poses, through articulation or through sculpting or through a combination of both. And then those sort of find their way into other figures, namely, like Batman or maybe the Flash or Daredevil. And I think that that's really cool that Spider-Man is the one who's kind of like leading the way, because you really want to get him in those crouching, like, very iconic Spider-Man poses, kind of like the way that like maybe Iron Man figures sort of seep into the way that other robotic action figures are sort of sculpted, and the engineering that has to go into like how more metallic or more armored figures sort of move and play. And so so we thought, there's been a couple that come out recently, namely the Maximum Series Spider-Man, where you and I jokingly refer to that as Maximum Profit Spider-Man, and then also the MAFEX Tobey Maguire No Way Home Spider-Man has garnered a lot of controversy as of late. So I know that you and I both wanted to talk extensively about those two, but then we also wanted to sort of like not just come to the table and talk about like what we like and dislike about those figures and weigh in on that controversy. We didn't really want it to be clickbaity. We also talked about what are some categories that all Spider-Man like need to kind of like fall into, like for us, what are we always looking for? Like I know that you and I are always looking for the best articulation. We're always looking for the best prices. And then we're always looking for that definitive Spider-Man figure that is like,
we've all got our make it or break it points, so if a figure doesn't have this, not getting it, that type of thing.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Those things that we're looking for. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the two most controversial Spider-Man. We're going to talk about these three categories: best articulation, best price, and best all-around Spider-Man. And then I think we want to round out that conversation with things we want to see companies do more of when it comes to Spider-Man in the future. And then some things that companies probably should start leaving out, because we need to phase these things out. And they're not working, and let's just stop moving forward. So why don't we, do you want to start with Tobey, or do you want to start with Maximum Profit Spider-Man?
Let's start with Tobey.
Okay. All right. Why don't you kick this one off, because you were much more early on this figure than I was. I got it way after you did. And you've got a history with the SH Figure Arts version. So why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I remember seeing the ads for the MAFEX Tobey No Way Home Spider-Man. There's so many subtitles. And I remember thinking like, well, that's going to be the one to have, because MAFEX, just their articulation is top notch. And then the overall look of their comic book Spider-Man that have been coming out lately, like the Scarlet Spider, the 2099 from the comics Spider, like they are nailing this like 90s aesthetic look. And so I was super excited to get that guy. And they really knocked the unmasked Tobey Maguire likeness out of the park. And then I get the figure in hands, and there were immediately just several issues that I just felt like kind of showed me what MAFEX's strengths and weaknesses were. And for one thing, I have the SHF Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and it looks amazing. A lot of people don't like SHF's kind of clunky at times articulation, especially around like the thigh and that area. And I agree with that. But I would say the SHF Spider-Man, where it shines, the SHF Tobey, is the level of detail they're able to get in the sculpt. The paint application is great, and it just overall, like I'd say the silhouette just looks more like a real person. And then I get this MAFEX, which I expected to be the latest and greatest. And again, like I said, the unmasked head likeness is amazing. But the exterior, first off, the detailing in the sculpt in the suit is not as crisp and not as sharp. It's just kind of feels very soft details. Are you speaking specifically about like
the raised webbing in the red part, or are you talking about the texture in the blue part?
Well, both, but I guess if I had to, like, my biggest gripe is the texture in the blue. I think is definitely softer. It's
Right.
not
I
like,
got you.
you compare that to the SHF Spider-Man from 10 years ago, and it looks like MAFEX is using old machinery next to SHF. So that was an issue I had. But then for some reason they went with a satin finish, and he's just very shiny on camera. And
Yep.
I think when you're a company like MAFEX and you're making these figures to be posed and these amazing poses and stuff, they have to know that a lot of these are being picked up by photographers so we can take pictures of your figures. And if it's all shiny and doesn't capture well on camera, then you kind of shot yourself in the foot. And so yeah, this guy, he's very shiny. The details are very muted. In hand, it looks like a bootleg to me. It does not look like a very good figure. Especially, like I said, with the knowledge of how great the SHF looks in all those areas. But giving them their credit, the articulation is incredible. His crossover butterfly joints are amazing. So he definitely has that on the SHF. And then my other issue was the mask sculpt. The eyes, they went with like this, very like silvery eye look, which is fine, but it's dark. It doesn't capture well on camera. So I have not seen anybody post any good pictures of this figure unless they got a third-party head like Faro Store. They do amazing heads, and they're cheap. People get third-party heads, or they do work on them themselves. And so you and I have both worked on ours to make it a little bit better. There's the toothpick mod with the lats on his side to just sort of fill out the body a little better, because he also has these big round shoulders, and that kind of helps make those look a little less big and cartoony. But then I also hit mine with a matte coating to dull down some of that shininess. And then I even added some gloss white on the eyes just to bring the eyes out. And mine looks a lot better now, in my opinion, than it did when I got it out of the box. And I think that's a real shame that we spend $100 on a figure and then have to put in an hour or however much time of work to get it to look presentable.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that,
I would say that you're correct. Those are like the three main mods that I see everybody doing: is the matte clear coat to bring down a little bit of that satin finish. Yeah, the lats on the side, expanding them either with wire or toothpicks, or some sort of like more some sort of like hard material to like keep it that way. And then of course the eyes, bringing out the eyes with a little wider, brighter white. Yeah, those seem to be the three things that just about everybody is doing. And then I've seen some people like even go in there with like maybe like a Gundam panel liner pen and like brighten up the webbing a little bit, although I kind of prefer the webbing to be a little more dull. And I guess that's one of my least favorite things about the Tobey Maguire suits, is that I don't like the raised webbing. To me, it looks it's kind of distracting, a little bit. I'm more of a, like, I kind of wish the webbing was a little more integrated into the material of the suit, whether it's painted on or, however they do it, or however Peter is supposed to have done it, when he makes it himself,
Right. Right. One of the most unrealistic parts of Spider-Man is how he's got these incredible suits, and he's just some kid. Like he got he got bit by a spider, and it definitely made him stronger, but it also made him an incredible suit designer. And
yes, he has access to all these world-class materials. I'll push back a little bit on like the because I've pulled up some pictures here, because I don't have the Tobey Maguire, like the SH Figure Arts version. So I'm kind of looking at some images online, and I'm going to push back a little bit on the like just the overall like proportions of like the design of the body and like the aesthetics of it. I kind of prefer the MAFEX. Now, I'm a little biased because I have the MAFEX in hand versus looking at just images of the SH figure arts. But specifically, like you were talking about how like people complain about like the hip area. Yeah, that's really busy, and there's a lot going on in that hip area. You've got your upper thigh joint where it's connecting. You've got this hip joint that's then covered with like this little like I don't know what you want to call that, like a little upper hip area. Then you've got this crotch piece that goes through. So it looks like you're in that same little area. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different pieces on both legs. You know, not on both, but like compared. Yeah, it's very complicated and a lot going on. Now it may facilitate some really good mobility. Again, I don't have it in hand. I can't get a chance to play with it. But the MAFEX one, it's very simple. There is no thigh cut. You know, your leg has got your swivel built into the thigh joint. And then I know you do not like this term, and we're not going to use the term diaper on this show. We're going to call it the trunks. We're going to call it the trunks. The trunks it's a very simple, and you can get a really nice bend. Like you can get his knee all the way up to his chest. And so I kind of like the aesthetics of this one, of the MAFEX, a little bit better than the SHF. Now his shoulders are very pronounced in the MAFEX version. He did not miss arm day at all. They're a little slouchy in the SHF version, at least in the actual pictures from figure arts themselves. The shoulder, I'm assuming you can probably shunt them up a little bit, like grab the whole arm and push it upwards, you know, vertically, and probably get that area filled out a little bit better than these. Because you and I have complained about that a lot. Like we hate how that these people who make the figures take the worst pictures of their figures to sell them online. Like if you're trying to show me, like you're trying to sell me this figure and the official photos that your company took are terrible, like, and you don't know how to pose.
The MAFEX Daredevil, man, takes the cake. Those were some of the worst promo shots I've ever seen for a MAFEX figure of all places, of all people, you know?
Yeah, and you know that figure can move. Yeah. But and I mean, another one from MAFEX, I'm going to go out there and talk about the MAFEX Nightfall Batman, because you and I both skipped over the Nightfall Batman initially because they never showed official pictures of him with the cape without the curved pointy bits on the tip, like on the shoulders. You know, they never showed that he comes with one without that. And if you'd have shown that, I would have bought that figure day one. I damn near missed out on that figure because they didn't show that, you know, until somebody did a pose video or an unboxing and they're like, oh yeah, you could swap that out. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. Like, yeah.
I think in the comics, you know, when they want to, like some artist or somebody wants to add a little flourish, and it's like, okay, on this one is going to have these big curly, or maybe it was even just the cover art or something. We just had like the big curly hooks on the shoulders. Like that's cool, you know, but like, for the figure, I did not want that. And then it wasn't until it was released and people were going, yeah, you can just swap that out for this piece. And you and I were both like, dude, what?
What?
How did you?
So I don't have to have the curly, you know, I don't know, what they look like, Dr. Seuss mountaintops. Like I don't need those. And like, oh, I can put like short ear Batman head and have that's the classic Batman. Like that's exactly what I wanted. Like sell me that guy. Yeah. And then immediately both you and I both were like, yeah, we're buying this. Like
it's just another case of just make the thing we want and sell it to us and we'll buy it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of trick us into like getting something else, and like I don't know. All right,
but yeah,
I don't want to get too ranty too early on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. We'll save that for the end. But I will say, like overall, I do like you're absolutely correct. The textures on the SHF Spider-Man, the blue pants are they're very much that you can see that texture in the photographs, and it's hard to see the MAFEX texture even in hand. Now, a minute ago, you may have just been saying this as a joke, but you said, you know, something about it looks like the tooling was a little soft compared to, you know, what SHF was doing 10 years ago. Is this Spider-Man, this friendly Spider-Man figure, this isn't 10 years old, right? Like this is from No Way Home from SH Figure Arts.
The SH Figure Arts, no, that is 10 years old or roughly. That's an old
really.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 10.
Really?
I've been saying 10 because I've had it a while, so I don't really know exactly. But yeah, no, that's from just when the Raimi movies came out. So
Oh, wow.
that's an
Okay.
older figure. That's what I'm saying. That's what, like, when you look at the tooling, when you hold these figures side by side. Freddie came over, and he has the SHF, and our mutual friend Freddie, I put them side by side, and he said that talked him out of getting the MAFEX because he was looking at them side by side, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I have a new appreciation for my SHF now." And he's not, and he, as of a few weeks ago, he's not getting the MAFEX because just side by side, they one looks like a finalized product, and the other just sort of looks like I said, it just looks kind of bootleggy to me next to the SHF. The thing I wanted to say though, because you said the thing about you prefer the look, the sort of cleaner look of the Mayfest, and I agree, especially with the comic book version. I agree, it does look better. And on the SHF, it is a little busy in the front, which doesn't work for Spider-Man. But then for a character like Deadpool, who is wearing more like traditional sort of like pants on his suit, like
Sure.
the live action
Yep.
movie Deadpool, it actually looks really good. It like the lines work with how pants work, So it just sort of
Yeah.
like it just sort of comes down to, if I'm like, here's kind of how I look at it. If it's a movie, if it's supposed to be movie accurate, I'm gonna probably be more interested in the SHF. But if it's comic book accuracy, I'm gonna be looking more towards Mafex because I feel like they've just been knocking the comic book look out of the park, and their articulation is I mean, between the two, it's six of one, half dozen the other. You know what I mean, in
Yep.
terms of articulation. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I think at that point, yeah, they both move incredibly well. I think you're just at that point, you're looking at probably scale because I know that SHF can skew just a tad shorter
oh
than
yeah,
that 1/12 scale. Mafex is going to kind of hit it like right on. But yeah, I think the articulation, I think you, like you said, it's, my mom used to say that when I was a kid, six one way, half dozen of the other. So yeah, they're relatively the same. You're going to be able to do the same. But I agree. Somebody like Daredevil, who's got a lot of like belts and holsters, and like there's a lot going on around the waist. You're able
yeah,
to hide those articulation points a lot better. Whereas somebody like Daredevil or Spider-Man or even Batman for that matter, with the trunks on the outside, you really want to. I would prefer um, that the more sleeker aesthetic. Did you try the mod on the Mafex, Tobey Maguire, where you heated up the trunks and then pressed them in and then soaked them in ice water so that the trunks weren't so flared out, so that the middle abdomen isn't just so noticeable? Because like when you do the lat mod on the sides, the lats now poke out quite a
right,
bit,
right.
and then the trunks poke out quite a bit, and it really looks like the interior abdomen middle piece is now, it looks undersized. I
Right,
tried it, but
right.
I couldn't get it to. It stayed for that night, but when I looked at it the next day, they were flared out again. Like it just, the memory was in the plastic was too.
No,
It was.
I didn't mess with the tinfoil, but I know what you're talking about, and I did do the warming up and then cooling off of the upper torso to kind of make it so it doesn't, so that it meets the mid torso a little better, a little closer.
Right, right,
Mine
right.
seems, mine seems to have kept that for the most part, but really that was the least of my complaints. I could undo the lats thing and really be okay with it. It was mostly just how shiny that figure is. Um,
Yeah.
so, so I'm,
It doesn't
I'm good.
bother me enough in hand to do the clear coat mod, and I've got some clear coat that I could easily pop on there, but it doesn't bother me enough to like want to take the time to like tape it off. I know that you did that recently, and yours looks really good. Um, like you did that mod, right? Like on
Yeah,
yours before, but did you get rid of yours, or do you still have your Mafex?
but I still have both of them. You're talking about the
Oh,
Spider-Man, right?
right, yeah. I didn't know if you were getting rid of the Tobey Mafex figure or not, if you were just going to hang on to it. I didn't remember if you kept it or if you got rid of it.
You mean the one I just did the mods on?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting rid of that one.
Okay.
That was the
Yeah.
whole point of modifying it was to make it so
Okay.
that I like it more. And sorry, I'm in my collector room right now. And I just found a hand that I've been looking for weeks.
To a completely different figure. No, that's so funny. So when it comes to your Spider-Man shelf, how do you pose the SHF and the MAFEX together? Is one your unmasked Tobey and one is your masked Tobey, or how do you do it with both?
Yeah, that's how I've had them. I've had the unmasked or the unmasked MAFEX because those unmasked heads are so good. The
Yeah, they
likeness,
are really nice.
Tobey Maguire likeness is good. It's great.
Do you prefer
And
the stoic Tobey or the smiling Tobey?
I've been messing with both of them. I like putting the smiling one in a little dance pose, like that's been a lot of fun. But I had him on my side. The magnets are pretty good, so I had him on the side of my fridge for a little while too.
Nice.
Just sort of overseeing my cooking, and he usually approves. I have to say,
Usually approves.
Yeah.
I do. I think both of those heads are fantastic. I think the smiling one looks more like Tobey Maguire. You really get to see the features of his face more. I prefer the stoic look for my Spider-Man, but yeah, it was so good to see Tobey again in the Spider-Man movies, reprising his role as Spider-Man. But
it really was. I wasn't even like the biggest fan of Tobey Spider. I thought I did fine. I didn't love the Raimi movies. I thought the second one was the best, but in general, I didn't really love those. They weren't just like. I didn't get that sense of like, yes, finally, great Spider-Man movies like I do with like certain other ones. So I thought Andrew Garfield actually hit home a little closer for me personally.
Andrews is my Spider-Man. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But since he was sort of the first big movie Spider-Man, and they did bring him in as the older sort of, mentor Spider-Man, like that was really cool. That cemented him a little more, ingratiated him to me a little more, seeing him come in as that sort of a role. Like he could even be, I know they're talking about bringing Miles. This is a little off subject. They're talking about bringing Miles into the live action. I would love to see a live action Miles Morales get mentored by Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Like, I just think that's money in the bank right there.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. There's also a lot of talk about who would play Miles in the Spider-Man movies. And I will say that my wife and I just watched Sinners last night for the very first time. And that movie is just a masterpiece. It's so good. But the young man he's a newcomer who plays Sam, who is the preacher boy who plays the main character in the movie. I think he would make a great Miles. He was really good. He was very charismatic for it to be his first big role. And I think he would do really good. But anyway, not a movie podcast. Do you feel like we've covered everything with the controversial MAFEX Tobey, or do you have any other thoughts you want to share and get out there before we move on to Maximum Profit Spider-Man?
That's pretty much it. There's one other mod that I'm hesitant to try, and that's the shoulder mod to like shrink them down a little. I've seen people who have done it, and it looks really good. It does make him have a more realistic figure, but when it comes to doing undoable damage to your figure, I'm much more hesitant, and so this would require shaving off some of the inside of his shoulder with an X-Acto, and then replacing certain pieces with like tiny pieces of toothpick, and like getting all that glued in just right. And I'm just like, it's a little
no.
I'm not that level of modifier customizer. So
yeah. When it comes to not being able to undo something, no, I can't do that. Yeah, I don't have the desire. Like to me, I'm just like, no, he's got big shoulders. Yeah. I'm okay with that, and then I move on.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for that one.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to turn our attention now to Maximum Series Spider-Man. I'm not going to try to call it Maximum Profit Spider-Man, even though I do think that that's what this is. Oh, man. I know that this was not something that you were going to pick up because just in general, you are not a Marvel Legends collector. I am also...
Not to the same level as you or other people. I do pick up still the occasional one, but I have moved away from Marvel Legends for various reasons. So yeah,
Right.
this was just not one I had to have.
Yeah, I am not a Marvel Legends collector. I'm a Spider-Man collector, and therefore I have to buy Marvel Legends. Much like I do not consider myself a McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse collector. I do not buy figures in that line unless it's Batman. So they put out a Batman or the occasional Superman. They put out a Batman, I buy it. So I'm not a big fan of that line, but it's got its problems. But sometimes it hits home and it works. But I did want to get the Maximum Series Spider-Man. I didn't pre-order it right off bat. I wasn't blown away from what I saw, specifically the price point, which has been the sort of the talking point here since this figure was since the price was announced. I thought for sure when they announced this figure that it was going to be every bit of $35. And I thought people are going to freak out at a $35 figure. Was not prepared for it to be $50. So I did not pre-order it right off the bat. I waited. It was probably about a month before I finally decided, well, here's the thing. I love Spider-Man. I love playing with new Spider-Man figures. I have a ton. I probably have more Spider-Man figures than I do anything else next to Batman. I don't know. I really would have to get them all out and count them to see which one I have more of. Probably Batman now that I think about it. But I was like, yep, I'm really going to need to get this figure, get my hands on it, mess around with it, play with it, and see what it can do. And then we're going to do that. I get to use the excuse, well, I'm doing it for the channel. I'm doing it for the review, but really and truly it was for myself just to see. And so I had to come to the conclusion that I'm not going to be upset that I paid $50 for this figure if I buy it. Like, that's where I'm going to have to be with it. And so I will say, I've heard other people say this before. This is a $50 figure. And do I think it's worth it? No. Am I upset that I paid it for this figure? Also, no. I'm not mad that I paid $50 for this figure. I do think it's very overpriced for what you get. But we had to have like a special lunch just so that I could put this figure in your hand. I even posted a picture of that lunch on our Instagram page. You can check it out over at across_the_Toyverse on Instagram to check that out, because this was us doing our homework. Like, you had to play with this figure. I had to put it in your hands before we could have this conversation. So, as not a big Marvel Legends Spider-Man purchaser, what were your initial thoughts on this figure?
The positive, I want to say, it goes very well. Every pose I tried to put it in, it easily was put in. All the articulation that I expected to be there for a Marvel Legends was there. It did come with lots of hands, lots of accessories. I think that's about it for the positives. For me, though, part of the reason I'm moving away from Marvel Legends, personally, like, I'll still pick up Marvel Legends, especially for like lesser desirable characters, more background characters. Especially if I find it on discount on like at Ross or Ollie's or something like that. If I can get a Marvel Legends that I kind of need and it's under $10, sure. But it's hard for me to spend $25 on a Marvel Legends, primarily because I feel like the quality of materials they use these days is going down while the price is going up. And I don't appreciate that as a collector. And this guy just felt like that same kind of gummy plastic that they've been using for everything lately. And you and I both know the frustrations of trying to stand a gummy Marvel Legends figure on a shelf, and you just want him in like a vanilla pose, and he just won't do it. And then you finally get him there in that vanilla pose, and you come back an hour later or something, and it fell and it knocked over 12 other figures. And you just get so mad. You're like, I paid $25, which I felt like was a little bit too much, and now it's causing me frustration, versus this guy, which is now I paid $50 for this guy, and same frustration is going to be there with the gummy plastic. So that's that's kind of my main complaint about it. But then secondarily, I just don't think it personally. It doesn't look very good to me, and that's like I think I'm with you. I don't really like the dark blue, for one thing. I don't like the webbing lines. It's too tight and close together, and I think the lines are a little too thick to support that. So it just looks like he's got like graph paper grid lines on him. It's just kind of how it looks to me. But also the Marvel Legends style of just the big bulky muscles. He just looks all bumpy and lumpy, and then when you start like turning this, thigh joint and that uh, 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 shoulder joint, and you start turning him different ways, it just doesn't sell for me. And then the mask, I don't like the mask. I don't like the unmasked head either. I think they're both. I don't think they did enough work aesthetically. I don't think they tried to make it really look good. I think they focused on what kind of articulation and oh man, hey, we're running out of time. What accessories can we throw in? That's like what it really feels like to me.
I do feel that a majority of the accessories were an afterthought. They're just kind of thrown in there. That's, I would say, probably my biggest sticking point with the figure is the accessories, honestly. Probably more than anything, because I think they use the accessories as a justification for the price, and I don't agree with that. I would rather if this figure, it would have set better with me if this figure had half of the accessories that it came with, and it was still $50, and they said the reason it's $50 is because of it's 100% new tooling, head to toe. There's not a single piece of this figure that is reuse from another figure, which can't be said for Hulk. But if they'd have just said that's it, that is why this figure is $50. But when you start telling me that a part of that is because look at all this, look at all of the value, look at everything that we put into this, I'm going to tell you that that's where the argument breaks down for me, because I literally half of this stuff could throw in the trash can because it's complete garbage. Aesthetically, I think the figure looks fine. As far as like the bulk and the size, this feels like a Peter Parker who is an adult Peter Parker, probably in his late 20s, early 30s. As far as like the height and the bulk and the size of the figure, it's definitely not, a big swole Spider-Man that we've gotten before. He's not beefy, but he's also not very like real thin. He's also not really short. So it's not a kid Spider. It's not a kid Peter. So I kind of like aesthetically the overall shape and proportions of the guy. This is just a personal thing that I'm not going to fault the figure for, but personally, how you said that the webs are too tight for you. I agree they are. The web pattern's very tight. Personally, I like a more lighter blue. That's just an aesthetic thing to me. That's like, I prefer my Batman with short ears, not long ears on the cowl. That's just me. It's a personal thing. I don't like the deep blue. I can't fault it for that. But it's really what it just comes down to is I like the figure. I like it a lot. I love the hand choices that it comes with. There's some things that I find very questionable. One, I really love, like I can break the accessories down into those that I love and those that I hate. I love the web shield. That's brilliant. Especially now that Marvel or Hasbro has now shown off all of the Marvel versus Capcom figures, because I remember that was the first time I ever saw the web shield. I don't remember, it from the comics as a kid, or if he ever, I'm not saying it's not in the comic. I'm just saying from my memory, I can't point to a specific comic or a specific story where Peter webbed up a shield and used it in the comics. I know that he did. I'm not saying that he didn't, but I'm saying where it's most notable for me in my memory is from the Marvel versus Capcom game. He used that web shield quite a bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And knowing that that's, like if you want to do like a Marvel versus Capcom shelf, and having that web shield is going to be perfect. I think that's going to be great. I love that. I think that's a great accessory. I love the the spider sense plastic piece. Aesthetically, I wish it was yellow and not red. To me,
Yes.
that's just a color miscue there. It's just a misuse of color, but
Yeah.
that I'm not going to fault it. I love that accessory. I think it looks great.
I'm gonna fault it.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like, oh, that's a no-brainer. But hey, somebody on their team was like, it should be red, and they fought hard for that. I'm sure there was discussions. Should it be red? Should it be yellow? And somehow red won out. Personally, I like the ungloved Peter hands and the gauntlets. I think those add some play value to it, some display options if you really want to switch up your Peter Parker Spider-Man. I like those. I'm not a fan of the head sculpt, the unmasked Peter head sculpt. I know I've seen people share, you and I have shared back and forth the images that somebody pulled from a McFarlane comic where it looks just like the way McFarlane drew Peter Parker with the two little curls coming down. It is very comic accurate to McFarlane's Peter Parker. I just don't particularly like his, I almost said 30-yard stare, but his 1,000-foot stare, that where he's just looking off into the distance, like he just has this look of like, oh no, is there somebody behind me? The person I was just talking about is standing behind me, isn't he? That head's just, it kind of bothers me. The other head that bothers me is the secondary Spider-Man head. It's not different enough. Like only one eye is slightly squinted a little bit more than the other, and it's ever so slightly. Blink and you'll miss it. And then ever so slightly, the black border is a little thicker on one than the other. It's like this head is an 8 and this head's like a 7.9. It's like you didn't change it enough, to justify another head. Like those eyes should have been completely squinted, or one almost completely closed and the other wide open. Like there should have been some huge differentiation between the two Spider-Man heads to justify that third head. As it is, that's a throwaway head. So I'm going to have to throw that in the pile of garbage with the rest of the accessories, which is like the spider sperm, which people call it, the base, and then the floppy web accessories, which are useless unless you're a little kid and you want to wrap them around your figure. Like all spider webs that Spider-Man comes with, if you can't make them posable, like if they're not going to be made of wire, then they need to be stiff, like 100% straight, so that you can get those swinging poses. As is, these are kind of crummy. I do like the web up effect, like where you can clip it onto like another Marvel Legends body. I think that's fun. That's a fun accessory. Like I like that, so I'm going to put that in the keep pile. But otherwise, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7, 8, 9 accessories. 6 could be thrown in the trash. Like and to have that be a reason that this figure is $50 is just beyond me, when we know that these things that require a single tool, that tool costs a lot of money, but it costs nothing to produce these other than that tool. So the accessories is a big sticking point for me. But if you toss all the accessories and we're not going to discuss accessories now, we're just looking at the figure itself. I think the figure itself is really good. I think it is the greatest Spider-Man figure that Marvel or Hasbro has ever made. But is it still worth that $50? I'm going to have to say no, because they can get some of the exact same extreme posing with like their Spider-Boy figure that they put out this year, or the new Miles Morales, which uses the same Spider-Boy body that's in the mini comic series. That Miles is $25 and can get into every single pose that this Spider-Man can get into. And every extreme where you crunch the figure all the way forward and throw the legs up over the head and all of that extreme posability, that Miles can do the exact same. Now, he doesn't have the toe articulation, but that's one of the things I don't like about Spider-Man figures.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That's wild that he does basically all the same stuff without this one piece that you don't want anyway.
Right.
So he's, in a way, a better figure in that way, at least.
Yeah, now he's much smaller. You definitely could not use this particular body for an adult Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Right.
But I'm here to tell you, like, if you took the same articulation points and just upscaled this figure and made it a true 6-inch sized figure, and had an adult Spider-Man, like with these articulation points, I mean, that's still a $25 figure versus this figure that cost me $50. And I don't see the price point, being reached. But other than that, I do love the figure. I think it is great. I'm not upset that I bought it. I'm glad I have it in my collection. I do pose it all the time. It moves wonderfully. And I can say that, yes, it is the definitive Spider-Man to have from Hasbro. Right. I will not be able to say that about the Hulk. And I don't know if I'll be able to say that about whoever else is coming next in the line, which if the next Maximum Series figure is not Wolverine, I do not know what Hasbro is doing. Like, I just don't get it. I'm like, man, your number one character is Spider-Man and number 2 is Wolverine. Why are you guys putting the Hulk next? Like, that threw me off completely when that was the next one announced. I was just like, I don't understand it.
Well, that was my theory. As someone who writes jokes and has to organize a set, and figure out how you want your set to lay out. You got to start strong, you got to end strongest, and you got to put whatever else in the middle. So I see Spider-Man as a strong start, Hulk as a fine middle, as long as the last one in the series is Wolverine. I mean, you're right. There's nobody else that it could be that would make sense. So
yeah, I mean, Captain America and Iron Man, I know are going to be like, that's your top 5. Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, Iron Man, and Hulk, probably in that order. I mean, that's your starting lineup right there. But that also excludes female characters, and which I would love to see, like, who would they pick for a female character in the Maximum Series line? And who knows? I don't know. Like, does Marvel have like a main, like, female hero that's front and center the way Wonder Woman is for DC? I don't know. I don't know. Like, who would you pick as a female character for?
They don't. Yeah, you're right. They don't have a Wonder Woman. I've tried to think about that before. Like, who is their main female character? And I guess you could make an argument for Black Widow, but that's really only because of the movies.
Yeah, that's only more of a recent thing. I mean, before the movies, I never would have put Black Widow as like a main female character. I think that's probably one of their one of the things where they have to concede that point to DC, is that they don't have like a Wonder Woman that's front and center.
They have. Character. I mean, they have powerful characters, but they don't have any. Like there's Jean Grey Phoenix. She's a powerful character who is also well loved. Storm is kind of in that category too, but they're not Wonder Woman. They're not like a third. Like DC has the what do they call it? The world's finest. They got their Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Marvel doesn't have it.
Yeah,
Marvel doesn't have a female, and I can't even like pick one that I would. Yeah, you're right.
Well, recently, Marvel or Hasbro did put out a massive Jean Grey deluxe figure that came with like this big Phoenix, plastic, fiery Phoenix, and like it would be hard to see them put her as in that Maximum Series line, because it'd be like how much better can you make that figure that you just made with the deluxe, with the figure and the fiery base and all of that. So I think you're probably right with Storm. Storm probably has a lot of like there's a lot they could do with Storm. They can include various heads because of her different hair looks over the years. I wouldn't mind a Mohawk Storm on like that white body.
Yeah, dude, I would love that actually.
And like the long flowing white hair, the shorter hair, the glowing eyes, the regular eyes. all of the lightning and wind and water effects. They could really build that. I think you're onto something with Storm. That's probably, I think she would make a great deluxe or maximum series figure. But unless you have any other thoughts, I think that's going to wrap us up on like the controversial Spider-Man figures. And I think now maybe we can get into like our categories if you don't have anything else to say about that.
I guess final points. I think the Maximum Spider-Man, even if you love it, I think it's overpriced versus the MAFEX Tobey. It's sort of their standard price range. So it kind of dipped a little bit in a couple of areas, but still feels like sort of the same value they've been delivering. Oh, plus it came with that the portal effect that everybody wants.
Yeah, which is very nice. Absolutely.
Right. So they said, hey, let's give this guy a bonus effect, and it's one everybody wants versus what they did with the Maximum Spider, where they said, let's throw all these things in that most of it people don't. So you know what I mean? So I guess final thoughts, I still feel like the MAFEX Tobey, it's more money. But for me, that means, I don't buy a couple of extra frivolous figures this week, and I can then afford the Tobey. So for me, that's the better value. But the Spider-Man, the Maximum, is that supposed to show up on toy shelves? Like, is that supposed to be in stores?
I guess. I guess it is eventually, but we're 2 figures in now, and I've never seen them in stores.
Right.
So I guess we'll see. Like, if they're not sold in stores, then the idea that this is built out for maximum kid playability is out the window, because parents aren't shopping for figures for kids online. Like, you're going to shop for your kid online for his birthday or for her for her Christmas gifts or whatever. But like, if the idea is that we filled this package with accessories that little kids would want because mom and dad are going to go down the toy aisle and see this really cool Spider-Man that's filled with all of these accessories, most of which he's probably going to lose by night 1. If it's not being sold in stores, then that's out the window, because like I don't feel like parents are going online to find the definitive Spider-Man figure for their kid for Christmas. I don't think that's happening. It's for us, and we just, Hasbro needs to acknowledge it. We need to acknowledge it. That's who it's for,
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, let's take another quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to tackle some of these categories, and we're going to give you guys some of our thoughts on the best Spider-Man for each category. All right, welcome back. Okay, so now we're gonna break some categories down and give you like our choices, like our 3 figures for these categories. Not 3 each, just we've each picked one figure that sort of personifies these categories. So I think when you start looking at Spider-Man figures, the very first thing I think that a lot of people, maybe most people, will go after, if they're not going after aesthetics, like how that figure looks, then you're definitely going after how that figure moves. So Scott and I have sort of like kind of racked our brains and gone through our own collections here, and we're going to go down and we're going to break down best articulation. Scott, won't you kick us off? What is the figure that you feel is the best articulated Spider-Man that you own?
There's a lot of contenders, but for me, the best articulated Spider-Man that I own, the one that I feel like not only gets in the poses I want, but the articulation is so good that like I put him in new poses. You know what I mean? Just messing around, I'll just like find something crazy and just go, damn, that's something somebody probably drew at some point. Is the third party knockoff? Not really a knockoff though. It's an original Spider-Man, but it's a third-party company, D6 Toys, D6 Studios, I think. It's the Ultimate Netman figure. That guy has got some insane articulation. The only place he's really lacking is he does have toe articulation, but because of the style of the suit, it's sort of like a rubbery suit that goes all the way to the bottom of the foot, but then it's plastic on the bottom so they could give him a toe articulation. And it doesn't work great, but I don't need it to really do a whole lot. But I mean, that figure, man, every now and then I'll pick it up and just throw it in some poses and go, is this thing really this good? And it impresses me every time. It is my favorite Spider-Man figure for articulation, for posing, for just like fun finding, a new pose to put him in. I'm a big fan of SHF. I'm a big fan of MAFEX. I have some Marvel Legends Spider-Mans that I still really like to mess around with, but so far nothing beats that D6 Studios Ultimate Netman.
Yeah, I've got a chance to check this out. You brought it to one of our local meetups. One of the things that I love about our local Facebook group is that we, either every month or every 2 months or so, we get together, we have lunch. Mostly the same people come every time, but sometimes we have new people who show up and come, and we all will pick somewhere to go eat, and then we all bring figures to check out. And it's like, if you've never heard of this, check this out. You get a chance to get your hands on time with something that you probably would have never bought. And I remember when you brought that figure, a lot of people were like, whoa, this is a lot of fun. I'll put a link to it down below, and of course, if you want to see some of Scott's poses with this, definitely check out our Instagram at Toyverse, and he'll post some pics of this guy, because he basically looks like a child Spider-Man. So you're getting like a 12-13-year-old kid Spider-Man. Those are kind of the proportions that I see when I see this figure. It does have more of a rubbery body, not body, but suit. There's a symbiote version of this as well, right? Like a black suit version.
Yeah, it's the they based it on the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, which I didn't read, but it does look just like those. And I think he's in high school in those comics. But yeah, okay. They did the red and blue, classic red and blue suit, and they did a symbiote suit. But because it's a rubbery suit, it does kind of attract lint. So I've seen a couple of people who have the symbiote suit complain that when they're doing photography, they got to keep tape or something on hand to pull the lint off before they take their pictures, or else he's got lint on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the two they've made, and so far they are teasing that they're working on a suit that looks like the Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield suit from, I can't tell if it's the first or second movie.
The first one, yeah, it looks like from the first movie when he had more of that like bobsled style outfit, that athletic wear.
Yeah,
I love Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. He is my Spider-Man, but that first movie suit is I just can't with that suit. But the second movie suit, perfection.
Oh, that's right. Perfection. That's right. They are drastically different. You're right. So
drastically different.
Yeah. So if they put out, I mean, even the first movie, just because I'm so impressed with this figure, I'll probably get it, even though it's not my favorite suit. But just this company is. This is the first time I've heard of them. This is the first figure I've gotten of theirs, and it is really good.
Yeah. For me, this is going to be really easy. I just, for me and my money, nothing else on the market comes close to best articulation than the MAFEX classic comic book Spider-Man. This is just number 185. This figure moves like butter, and there literally is not a single solitary pose that you cannot put this figure in. He just, anything you want, he's going to do. It was hard for me not to make this figure my best overall Spider-Man, simply because of the classic colors, the shape, the aesthetic of the character, the bright blue, the way the webs are spaced out. Like, there's just so much. To me, this is the perfect, definitive Spider-Man figure. You could buy this guy for like 105, 110, whatever he is, and never buy another Spider-Man as long as you live, as far as I am concerned. But I'm gonna put this guy as my number one for best articulation, just because he is just buttery smooth. If you've never messed around with a MAFEX comic book figure, boy, this is the one to get. And then Daredevil is a close second. That figure is so good too. So all right, so now we've covered best articulation, best priced Spider-Man. What is the best Spider-Man that you can get for the price? And the price doesn't mean the lowest price. It means the best bang for your buck value. Like I just said, for me, 100 plus is what I'd be willing to pay for this figure, and it's worth it. But what for you? What is the best priced Spider-Man?
Even though this is funny how we're kind of back and forth on stuff, even though I'm not the biggest Marvel Legends fan, the fact that you can, like you said, walk into a store and find a new Spider-Man on occasion and it's $25 and you know it's going to be good, that's hard to beat, man. So if there's been a few that have been released recently that I just don't need another Miles, so I'm not getting it. But I look at it on the shelf and I go, and I can see the articulation, and then I'll see people pose them online, and I'm just like, dude, those are great. So for me, Marvel Legends, Spider-Man, I mean, take your pick. Basically, those are the best. Those are the best value, I think, because I don't. Even though I love the premium quality of MAFEX, and I think that their comic book figures are just the best all around, and just that still can be kind of a hefty price to pay $100 for something that's, you're basically going to do a few poses and then you're going to find a pose that's just like, ooh, this one's fire, and you put it on the shelf, and now I don't want to pick it up again because I don't want to lose that pose.
Right? Yeah.
It's not the same with Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends, I feel easier. It's easier for me to grab one of those and just pose them up, and so. I'm going to say, best price, best value is Marvel Legends, whichever one you want. They're all
Your flavor.
Yeah.
And right now is a really good time to do that, because right now, literally hitting targets nationwide, and I've seen them in our targets, even here in Florida. We seem to be the last targets to get anything, it seems like. But right now, even hitting our targets, you've got an entire wave of Spider-Man from the Spider-Man 2 Gamerverse coming out. Thankfully, these are no longer dedicated to strictly GameStop. All stores are now getting these, and it's an entire wave of Spider-Man, mostly characters from Spider-Man 2. And like, you literally can go in and just pick your flavor. There's like 6 different Spider-Man you can pick from right now. You just picked up the Black Cat figure. Yeah. How do you like her?
She's good. I haven't messed around with her a ton, but I kind of was. Sometimes it's easy to like really get some good poses out of a figure, and sometimes it's more of a challenge. And she was a little more of a challenge than I expected, but I've seen some really good poses online, and she reminds me a lot of the that comic book Black Widow that Hasbro dropped a year or so ago that just came with a ton of accessories, and she was like $30.
Nice. Yeah.
That one was super nice. It reminds me of that one. So it's good. She doesn't come with a whole bunch, a couple of pairs of hands, and I haven't played the game, so I don't know what the little baton is, but that Miles, the comic book series Miles, comes with a tiny little comic. That's an amazing figure too. But yeah, these new PlayStation Spider-Man, they all look great. So.
Yeah, I forgot what that baton is called, but I can tell you what it is. It is a teleportation wand that she got from Doctor Strange, and it allows her to teleport to other places. And she does use it in the game because part of the game is that she goes to, I think, Paris, to like go track somebody down, and she just opens a portal with that little wand, and there's the Eiffel Tower. Like, there she goes. And so, yeah, she got that from Doctor Strange, even though Doctor Strange is not in the game. For me, the best price Spider-Man right now, you guys can go. He's peg warming right now hard. And I don't think that that's because he's a bad figure. I think it's because right now there's like a plethora of Spider-Man figures like flooding Walmart and Targets right now. And that's a good thing. Companies are delivering. There was some hold up with some deliveries because of tariffs or whatever, but now like the floodgates are open and like things are just like pouring in. But right now, I'm going to say the best value on the market, the best price Spider-Man you can buy is the mini comic Miles Morales. They hit along in Targets. They hit along with Iron Man. Those were the first 2, and now the whole wave is out. You just got the Adam Warlock mini comic figure that I took off your hands because you just wanted the Infinity Gauntlet. But I'm going to tell you, this guy is $24.95, and it is the best articulated, best posable Spider-Man figure on the market right now, $25. I love this guy. He is incredible. I hope one day, Scott, you're like, gotta have it, and then you just pick him up. Maybe if you find him for, get a little $5 discount somewhere, pick him up for $20. He's definitely worth it. He comes with 2 great heads. I love that what they did with the hands is they would give you like 1 wall crawling hand, but then 1 punching hand, and then 1 tooth whipping hands. And so they kind of mixed it up. So you got a little bit of everything instead of giving you 2 of everything, because sometimes Marvel's like, I'm not giving you 2 of everything. Or Hasbro. I mean, I say Marvel all the time, but I always mean Hasbro. But yeah, he does have 2 whipping hands. He does come with some a variety pack of hands, which is really nice. He's a perfect figure. I absolutely love this guy.
Yeah,
100%. So that's going to be my best priced Spider-Man. So that's going to bring us to our final category, and that is best all around Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Define that how you will, sir.
Well, you did a pretty good sales pitch with your best articulation, and that's my pick for best all around is the MAFEX Classic 185 Spider-Man. There's nothing wrong with it. It's awesome. I went on Farrell's store and got him another head, which I like the ones he came with. I'm fine with MAFEX head, but Farrell's store just makes amazing heads, and they're cheap. They're like $15, $16 plus shipping. They're great. They come pre-painted. They're excellent. So I just found a head that just really spoke to me, and it's like got a squinty eye look. And so I stuck that on my 185 MAFEX, and like that is my definitive Spider-Man figure right there. Yeah, you already said it all. He's got all the equipment you want, all the hands you want. You get either buy or make some little posable wire webs and stick him with those. Put him on a flight stand, and there's just really nothing he can't do. It's the best all around figure, and it showed up a couple of times on, like I think they might have done a re-release of it, because it seems like all of a sudden you could get it again, and he's on import sites. He's around like $80 or something. So if you can pick up the MAFEX 185 Spider-Man, if you don't already have them, and especially if you can get one for under $100, which I think is out there, I think that is possible. I say do it. I say sell a couple of other figures, whatever you got to do, get you a MAFEX. You're going to get one MAFEX figure. That's the one to get.
Yeah, that was extremely hard for me not to have it to be my best all around. But my best all around Spider-Man may come as a surprise to some of you. Probably not Scott, because I sing the praises of this figure all the time, and I probably should have brought it to our research lunch and let you check it out. But I'm going to factor some value into this decision. So I'm going with aesthetically, posability, and value, like price point. And that's going to be the Marvel Legends No Way Home Spider-Man Final Swing Suit. So I just did a quick search. You can still pick this guy up on eBay. I didn't see him on Amazon. He looked like he was sold out. But you can get him as low as 25 and as high as 40 still in the package, and any price point in between. So anywhere from 25 to $35, $40. This guy comes with, first of all, the final swing suit in No Way Home. It's only seen in the last, few seconds of that film where he's swinging through Christmas time in New York and it's snowing at night. First of all, the suit is absolutely perfection. It is Spider-Man perfect, classic, light blue and red. It looks gorgeous. To me, it's even better than the second Spider-Man suit from the Andrew Garfield movies. It is absolute perfection. It looks beautiful, and it looks great in hand. The proportions are nice. It does come with a Tom Holland head if you want to do the unmasked look. He comes with two fists, 2 thwip hands, and 2 wall crawling hands. And it is just one of the best looking Spider-Man figures that Hasbro has ever made. It's got all of the articulation that you want, that you could possibly ask for. It's got it all in spades. It's one of my absolute favorite Spider-Man figures, and you can still get it for under $40. Like, this thing is absolutely incredible. And it's going to be one of my favorites, because of the price point. It just looks good, and the price point. Now, I don't use the Tom Holland head. I keep the Spider-Man head, the masked head on, and it just looks great. I hope they do not do away with this suit when the next movie comes out. Like, I hope that the next movie picks up where this movie left off, which is where, people do not know his secret anymore, his identity. He's out to prove himself again. He has this new suit. He's tackling New York. Like, I hope that's where we pick back up. I hope we don't, he shows up and he's like got a brand new suit from some unknown, place. I hope we see more of this suit in the future, but that's going to be my best overall Spider-Man. So that's going to be our choices for this guy, for all these different categories. Again, check us out on Instagram, Across the Toyverse, and you'll be able to see all of our picks there. We're going to post some images of these guys so you guys have some visual idea of like what we're talking about. We're going to take one quick little break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap up this episode with something that we're loving this week in action figures and something that we're hating this week. All right. So we're coming to the end of our episode here, and we couldn't get away without, lavishing some love on something that we've come across news-wise this week, and then something that is just sticking in our craw that just really bugs us, and that's something that's just really making us angry this week. So won't you kick us off? What is something that you saw in toys this week that you absolutely love?
I feel like there's been several things, but the most recent was the NECA announced the Stan Sakai design Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Stan Sakai did Usagi Yojimbo, and the Turtles would often show up in Usagi comics, and he's just got his own very unique style. And so now they have all four brothers plus a new Usagi coming out in like the full samurai gear, and just the colors look great. I've been loving like how they've been doing like the comic book. The NECA's been doing the comic book Turtles with like the flat colors with the black outlines and stuff, and these look like the designs look like Stan Sakai designs. The colors look great. They're sort of almost like a pastel color. They look awesome. I can't wait to have them on my shelf. That's the most recent thing I'm excited about.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at them right now. They do look really nice. That is really cool. I do have the black and white Stan Sakai, Usagi Yojimbo. I do have that. Those are nice. Dang, I may have to get those as well. Yeah, those look really good.
They look so good, man. Yeah,
they do. They look really good. For me, what I'm really going to gush about this week is we've been slowly getting the teases from the Loyal Subjects toy company for their new mask line. They fully revealed the line, but they've been drawing out some of the information about the line and giving us these little posts throughout the weeks leading up to, I believe it's Mask Day, which is going to be July 9th, when all of these the first wave of vehicles and figures goes up for pre-order. This week they showed off that they are going to include the original, what they're calling the short masks, and now they're also going to include the long masks. Now, I don't really know the difference. Back in the day, I believe that some of the characters had, like Matt Tracker, who came with Rhino, which was the big, maroon colored 18-wheeler. I know that my best friend Derek had that when we were kids, and his Mac Tracker came with the long mask, meaning that the mask went down over his chest. It had this lower piece that went down over the chest and down his back. But that figure also came out later, I believe, and it had a shorter mask it was the same mask, but it just didn't have the plastic overlay on the front and the back. It stopped like around his neck area. And each of the figures are going to include a short and a long variation, which not all of these figures did back in the day. And the ones that come with the long mask will have special effects. So whatever that mask's power was, you'll have like some little beam effect emitted out of it. Now, I kind of caught on early on that this was going to happen, because in one of the very first images that I ever saw of Bruce Sato's mask from the Rhino playset that they're making, I could tell that when they trimmed out the figure in Photoshop, when they trimmed out the mask, they didn't trim out a part where that plastic effect piece was still visible on the helmet. And I remember studying that helmet very closely, and I was just going through all of the images and looking at them very closely, and I'm like, uh-oh, they didn't Photoshop that out. And that looks like an effect piece. And they purposefully left all of those images out of all of the promo shots when they showed this off. And when they've shown them off in person, they haven't included the blast effects. And now they have revealed that all of the masks are coming with blast effects. And that just makes me so happy, because that's one of the things that the toys when we were kids never had. And man, I'm already trying to figure out where these figures are going, because the last thing I need to collect is a whole new line of figures that come with vehicles, because I have no room for vehicles. But damn it if I'm not buying every one of them. I promise you I am. So that's what I'm excited about this week for sure. Like I don't need another set of 4 Ninja Turtles, right? Like I don't need that either, but I think I'm going to have to. All right, man. So let's get after it, because I know we could do this for the next hour and a half, and we need to wrap it up. What's something this week that really just really upset you?
Well, same thing every week. The games. Games these companies play. I started to kind of dip my toe in it earlier in the podcast, but I wish they could just. I do understand. I almost said I don't understand, but I do. I do understand marketing and creating a buzz and creating desire, and I get all that. But like, just the hoops they create to make us jump through to get the stuff we want, that they know we want, and then a lot of times it's not even fully the one that you want. They tease out. They give you like the alternate colorways first. Like NECA is. Oh my god, I love NECA, but they are the worst about giving you a variant first, and it'll sometimes be. They won't call it a variant. They'll just say this is the character, like they did with the time traveler. I'm spacing on her name from the NECA Mirage Turtles comics. I'm sorry, for the Mirage Turtles comics. They released a red version in store, and it didn't even occur to me that her costume is not red in the comics, because the comics are black and white. She's like in a blue costume on the cover, but then when you read the comics, they're black and white. So I didn't really associate the color. So they released a red version in stores, and then like a year later, they said, "Oh, here's the blue variant." I'm like, "Oh, the variant? You mean like the blue natural real colors?" And then that was the one. That was the one they made you like buy the. Remember they had these like tag. They were doing this for a minute with some NECA turtle stuff, where you had to like go to Walmart and buy this like tag hanging on the shelf, and you had to go.
Oh yeah, they tried the whole digital.
Then go online, and then they would ship it and all this stuff. And I was like, First off, I'm not playing your game, but second, I'm not buying the figure I already bought again just because now you're giving me the color you already knew we wanted. You know what I mean? I am so tired of these games. Every time there's a new big release coming out, it's my excitement for it is immediately muted by the fact that I know it's going to be a rat race. I know it's going to be some kind of make sure you get up at 6 a.m. to pre-order the new thing that'll be sold out in 30 seconds, and then you'll have to buy one a year from now on eBay for double or triple the price. I'm so sick of it. I'm so tired of it. So these days, that's my main complaint is toy companies creating obstacles for us to buy the toys they make for us to buy.
Yeah, Hasbro is really bad about that when it comes to their G.I. Joe classified series line. I can think of many instances where they give us the variant of a character first before giving us the character that we really wanted. Like one of my 2 favorite characters in G.I. Joe, my favorite G.I. Joe character is Alpine. My second favorite G.I. Joe character is Outback. And I could not wait for Outback when they announced him, and they announced the Tiger Force version first. So he comes with the white hair, the white beard, and he's in his Tiger Force outfit. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, you know what this means is it means like I'm purposely going to skip this version because I know that you've already made this figure and you have the tooling. So I know you're going to make the classic version later. So I'm going to skip this. I'm just going to wait for the classic version. Whereas if you just had released the classic version first, I might have been excited that you were going to release the Tiger Force version later because I know that he had a Tiger Force version, and I could be excited and look forward to maybe you doing that in the future. But now, instead of it being a possibility, it's now an inevitability. They did the same thing with Bazooka. They released Bazooka's Tiger Force version first.
Yeah.
We're all knowing that the red outfit is coming later.
Right.
Why not? It never made sense to me. And it was like their way, like if we do it this way, they're guaranteed to buy it twice. No, we're not.
Yeah.
Because you don't know me. I will wait. It's like that.
Yeah,
That really bothers me a lot when they do that.
I get the feeling that they think we love them. They think we're just so excited whenever they do any little thing that we just are going to support and love and support them. And instead, what they're doing is they're building this. They're kind of enshrining this sort of a culture, maybe even, or this. I don't know. We all feel. I feel like all toy collectors are sort of connected by this same thread of we want the things, but we hate the companies making the things. And
right. And if you don't support them, then you don't get the things.
Right. Yeah. It's very much a love-hate relationship, because there have been companies that I have come out and said, I love this company. I think everything they do is great. And then all it takes is a little time. And then you start to see their practices where it's like, okay, well, clearly they didn't have our best interests in mind when they did that. And clearly this is just a money grab. And so it all starts to feel like, I mean, maybe it's not even their fault. Maybe that's what capitalism is. That's what it does. It turns everything into mush. Eventually it all turns into like, what am I doing? Am I just giving them all my money for them to just keep stringing me along? So
yeah, absolutely. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Right?
Yeah. It would be nice to feel like the companies really cared about you as a collector, and it just doesn't. Once they get beyond like being like a sort of up and coming, because some of those companies still feel that way, like some of the newer like third party and small time, like group of friends making some toys, like they really feel like they care, they want to know, but eventually it just feels like they all get big enough or they get bought out, and it's that atmosphere kind of goes away, and then then we're left with just this Hasbro, NECA, and McFarlane all playing games with us to try and trick us into buying the stuff that like I would genuinely buy this if you would just put it on the shelf for me.
Right. That kind of brings me to the thing that makes me angry this week, because this past week we saw two major pre-orders go up. One was for the Hasbro Marvel Legends Psylocke versus
Thanos
2-pack from their Marvel versus Capcom wave, and then it was also the Hasbro Marvel Legends Weapon X retro carded Wolverine figure, and so they're both Target exclusives. So neither Hasbro nor Target made any kind of social media posts about here are the links to these websites, to Target's website where you can find these figures. And I think probably everybody knows how this goes. Like you can go either on like the Target app or either the Walmart app. It happens to both of them. Sometimes even with Amazon, you can go to these apps and you can search for, Marvel Legends Weapon X Wolverine, and it will not pull up that figure. But if you go to Google and you Google Marvel Legends Weapon X Wolverine Target link, it'll give you the link and you can go straight to that figure. It's like, why is it so damn hard to find these figures? And they're going live at 9:00 a.m. Eastern time. And if you were not one of the first 10 and within the first, I don't know, couple of minutes, then the Psylocke and Thanos sets sold out like almost instantly. Now, I was lucky enough to get one, but I had to go to Marvelous News, which is just a third-party Facebook group, like webpage and social media presence, and they had the links posted. But like, why would Target not put this out on their collector's spot website? Why would not Target like not put it out like on like toy news websites? Or why would Hasbro not say, okay, like we know that this is a partner exclusive. It's not going to be on Hasbro Pulse. It's going to be on Target, but we want to make sure that you guys have the link. So we're giving you the link. Like, you couldn't go to Target. Like, I know like all of my friends, and this happens every time. My friend groups are like, who's got the link? Does anybody have the link? I can't find it. Oh, it's sold out. And I'm like, I've got the link. Here it is. No, it's not sold out. It's still there. Like, go ahead. Like, it still shows up for me. Well, it's not showing up for me. Like, where's the link? Like, why does it have to be this hard? Put the links out. Do you want us to buy it? Then make it easy for us to find it. Like, why does it have to be this mad dash at 9 for them to post and go live before there's a link? Why can't there be a placeholder page that says this is going to go live in a few minutes? Here's the link. Everybody calm down. But it's like they just don't care because they know that they know it's going to sell out. So they don't care. They just don't care. And that really made me irritated. And this happens all the time. It wasn't just this particular figure set or whatever. Like, it happens all the time. Like, this is just par for the course. And that's if these don't get canceled down the road. You know, we're still hoping that these don't get canceled because I know a lot of people who had pre-ordered figures this past week, like more than a year ago, had a lot of figures canceled because, you know, that's just what Target and Walmart does. They have these big, you know, collector cons, but they turn into cancel cons because eventually they're just going to cancel because they oversold or the company underdelivered and they had more people wanting than they have it for sale. And then people miss out. And it's so frustrating. Make enough of the things, we'll buy the things.
That's what our buddy Spencer said. He wasn't even going to bother because they keep canceling his other orders, and he was just going to try and look for it later. And like, how does that help them? You know, generating this culture of it being a massive hassle, and then you getting disappointed later down the line, and then still having to struggle to like find one that I'm now buying from some other collector. You know, so the money's not even going to them. Like, what? I just don't understand how that's good for them.
Right. Well, Scott, we did it. I thought we were going to come in under our hour and a half time. We went over by about 10 minutes, but that's okay. I think we delivered a very good first episode. I hope you feel good about it. I felt good about it. But more importantly, everybody out there listening, I hope you guys felt good about it. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please let us know in the comments of this video. Because it is going to go up as a video, even though it is an audio-only podcast. And the reason, I don't think I said this at the very beginning, but the reason I chose this is because when I started doing the research of where we were going to host our podcast, where we're going to put it on Google Play and Apple Podcasts and, you know, Amazon Music and Spotify and all these places, I come to realize that YouTube has the greatest audience of podcast listeners than all of those other venues combined. More people listen to podcast on YouTube than they do anywhere else. And so that's why I'm not even going to fool with putting it on those other platforms for the foreseeable future. It's just going to live right here on Saturday Morning Toy Collectors page under the podcast tab. So Scott and I are still going to try to figure out if we're going to do this every week. We're going to do it every 2 weeks, but don't worry, we will communicate it. I'll put a post here in the community tab or in the posts section here on YouTube. We'll also announce it on the Instagram page, which is across_the_Toyverse on Instagram. Also, look forward to our figure fight. Where we have our pose off, and we're going to figure that out, and we'll have that up. And then next time we have an episode, we're going to see which one of the figure poses got the most likes. So that's going to about do it for this episode. We're going to get us all wrapped up. Scott, any closing thoughts?
No, just thank you guys if you're listening and sharing and following us on the different stuff. You didn't have to do all that, and we really appreciate you doing it.
Absolutely. You definitely didn't have to take time out of your day to listen to us ramble for an hour and 43 minutes, but you did. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in and watching. I super appreciate it. Please continue to check us out over at Instagram at Across the Toyverse, and we'll see you next time.